The game that ended every parent's worst nightmare. One little boy laughed as he ran into the trees to hide, and less than 5 minutes later, hundreds of searchers were combing the mountains for a child who seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Now, there's viewer discretion with this. The story discusses the disappearance of a young child and includes real search photographs and disturbing subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, my friends. I'm Amber Joy, and today I'm sharing one of the most haunting missing child cases in American history. More than 50 years later, no one knows exactly what happened to 6-year-old Dennis Martin. His disappearance has inspired countless theories, but the truth remains one of the greatest mysteries ever to come out of the Great Smoky Mountains. It was Father's Day weekend in June of 1969 when the Martin family traveled from Tennessee to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park for a camping trip. Dennis was 6 years old, full of energy and excited to spend the weekend exploring the outdoors with his family. The campground was busy with other families enjoying the holiday, and nothing about the day suggested it would end in tragedy. But that afternoon, Dennis, his older brother, and a few of the other children came up with a simple game. They decided to play behind trees and bushes so they could jump out and surprise the adults. It was exactly the kind of harmless game children have played for generations, and the adults watched as the kids ran off laughing into the nearby woods. Within moments, the children began popping out from behind the trees, laughing as they startled the parents. Everyone came back, except Dennis. At first, no one panicked. His father assumed Dennis had simply picked a better hiding place and called out his name with a smile, expecting him to come running out at any second. But as the minutes passed, the smiles disappeared. Family members spread out through the surrounding woods, calling louder and louder, yet there was no answer. Park rangers were notified almost immediately, and what began as a family search quickly became one of the largest search and rescue operations in national park history. Hundreds of volunteers joined, local deputies, National Guardsmen, Green Berets, park rangers, and even FBI personnel. Helicopters searched from above, while trained dogs tracked every possible trail through the rugged mountains. Searchers covered thousands of acres over the next several days, carefully checking steep cliffs, streams, dens, forests, abandoned cabins, any place a frightened little boy might hide. Despite the massive effort, they found almost nothing. There were no footprints leading anywhere from the area. No pieces of clothing, no signs of an animal attack, and no evidence that Dennis had fallen into one of the many ravines surrounding the campground. As investigators interviewed visitors, one report stood out from all the others. A family camping several miles away told authorities they had heard what sounded like a child's scream coming from deep in the woods around the time Dennis disappeared. Another witness claimed to have seen a rough-looking man moving quickly through the forest, carrying what appeared to be a small child over his shoulder. According to the witness, the man seemed to be trying to avoid being seen. Investigators took the report seriously and searched for that unidentified man, but they were never able to determine who he was or whether the sighting had anything to do with Dennis's disappearance. As days turned into weeks, hope slowly faded. Search teams continued returning to the mountains, believing that if Dennis had simply become lost, they would eventually find some trace of him. Yet every search ended exactly the same way. Nothing. Not a shoe, not a piece of clothing, not a single clue. Over the years, countless theories have tried to explain the mystery. Some believe Dennis wandered further into the mountains than anyone realized and died from exposure before searchers could reach him. Others believe he may have been abducted by a stranger passing through the park. The witness who reported seeing a man carrying a child continues to fuel speculation, but investigators have never found evidence strong enough to prove that account. What makes this case so frightening is how ordinarily it began. Dennis wasn't hiking alone deep in the wilderness. He wasn't separated from his family for hours. He was playing a simple childhood game within sight of adults. And in just a few moments, he was gone forever. More than half a century has passed since that Father's Day afternoon, and Dennis Martin has never been found. His disappearance remains one of the oldest unsolved missing child cases in the United States, and one of the greatest mysteries ever to haunt the Great Smoky Mountains. For his family, the question has never ended, and for everyone who hears the story, and it's a chilling reminder how an ordinary day can become every parent's next nightmare. Until next time, remember that every ordinary person has an extraordinary story. I'm Amber Joy, and I'll see you in the next story.